And Felt, that's a second broken hero they're getting, John. The OD is now on their side of things. And I'm going to say that OD isn't actually too bad up against heroes like the Beastmaster. You have that natural meteor hammer now. So you're going to feel quite happy to just clear all those creeps out. And the Cut, they'll respond with the clockwork. But that OD Nyx is starting to scare me a bit here for the Cut.
Yeah, it's really potent, right? Like, if you roar someone on Felt's side, you've got the Astral to save now as well. So you can delay the initiation of the Cut. The Cut going into the Clockwork themselves, which means Kotl plus Clockwork support duo. There's some potency there. It just doesn't feel like when you look at that PL, Clockwork's not that big of a solution as well. Doesn't deal with those illusions all quite well. If you catch the PL out somehow, he can doppel out of your Battery Assault Cogs combo as well. So it's not quite the response, but if you do get off to a running start, catch out the other supports, maybe catch out the Nyx, catch out the OD, you can kind of stall out enough to get some damage in with that Kotl. Looking for what the Cut can really pick up, I think the only real PL counter we have on hand right now is probably the Ember Spirit. That's been left in the pool. The Cut could opt for it if they want to. It's just that, you know, Ember into Nyx, Ember into OD down the line. It's just looking really good for the Cut. They've really tied their draft up together quite well here.
You mean the Felt? Team
Oh,
Felt.
yes, Felt.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So Jakira comes out now as well, which is another great kind of position 5 to have up against the Beastmaster. Basically, doesn't make it impossible for the Beastmaster to push, but being able to just drop a casual macro pyre in the lane and just leave it there and walk away can make it a little bit more difficult for the Beastmaster to actually get that push in. Obviously, some really nice high ground defense, and as well as that, you have the Ice Path setup with the Astral Imprisonment into an Impale. It is all very nice there with the Jakiro, but the Cut, they do go for the Juggernaut now, so you have that inbuilt magic immunity with the spin, which should counter out a lot of these heroes from the Felt. Thing is, you still don't really have a way of dealing with the PL if he does kind of get out of control. I suppose some would argue that the Jug might be good enough to do it, but I don't know about that. It's a bit of a tough ask for a Juggernaut to be able to really, you know, nail in the PL and just kind of confirm the win for themselves. I suppose they do have the Keeper of the Light, which is one thing we didn't really mention, is the Illuminate is going to be able to clear a lot of the illusions, but you don't really want to rely on that if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I think as a PL down the line, say once you have your Doppel maxed up, should be easy enough to dodge that spell in the middle of fights. In fact, that's a big issue here for the Cut. They have nothing to really lock in that PL. Never mind clearing those illusions, just keeping that PL locked in for a long enough time beyond a roar right now. So it's going to be really tricky to just lock in the PL, prevent Comfort from just running around. The Jug is nice, as you mentioned, dodges out a lot of the magic damage here on Felt, breaks up their combo a bit.
Yep.
It just doesn't feel very comfy against a PL. Like, maybe you get a Battle Fury, but say you Omni Slash someone, there's an OD who can still Astral. That's always going to be an issue for the Jug. And Omni Slash, it's such a long cooldown early on that you have a lot of downtime on here in terms of going up for fights. That is something Felt can abuse, because right now, their biggest ult is probably just Santi's Eclipse, and it's not the biggest deal for the OD in these fights, especially since you've got the Jack and Nyx to pick up that slack in these team fights anyway.
Absolutely. Final pickup, there's the Ember you talked about, so they seem confident enough to just go with the Ember pick, and that can deal with the PL. Like you mentioned, into the Nyx Assassin and the OD, it can be pretty tough to play Ember. But this is Lil Nick after all, John. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. We'll see how Felt feel about this last pick, Ember, as it seems like they're lacking their own mid-pick here. I think the OD might be going to the off lane. The Cut don't seem to think so, though. They did ban out the Timber Axe earlier on, so they seem to believe that there is still an off laner missing here for the Felt. And Zor, what do you want to play, sir?
Ooh.
Okay, they bring out the Weaver now, so you've got a semi-carry there in the Zor Weaver. Maybe he goes utility build with the Aghanim Scepter, or maybe he actually goes for a bit of right-click. Either way, I do like that Weaver into the Jug. It makes it so the Jug can't actually kill you throughout the laning stage, and obviously it's one of the better offlaners up against heroes like the Jug Keeper of the Light. So I do like that pick. They are still really good with teamfight as well. You have the Nyx, you have the OD, you have the Jakiro. it's not like you're lacking the stuns and disables you need to win out this game here for Feld. So overall, I do like both drafts, John, but I want to ask you, who has the better draft going into this game number 1? Because this does mean a lot.
I'd say Felt are looking really good in game 1. I mean, you get to pick up Nyx and OD, top-tier bans and picks across all the regions in the DPC. It's just really impactful when you actually have these two heroes together. We've seen Ember Spirit have to deal with Nyx, have to deal with an OD, and it doesn't tend to work out too well. Lil Nick has to put a lot in his mid lane up against Tay. OD up against Ember, there's a lot of ways the OD can play it. Even initial levels can be annoying for the Ember, so a lot of back and forth has to come out there. We have to see Lil Nick kind of get that runaway start, have Tingle King and Scourge sort of start pushing in that top tier 1 early on, and try to apply pressure quick before the PL can find space to farm here.
With that, John, we are going to get into game number 1. That Weaver, it can be very, very scary once you get into the mid to late game. The amount of damage you can deal with this Weaver, you know, ignoring the PL for a second, you've got multiple problems here for the cut. I think a lot of this game will be on Lil Nick to really make sure he has a good landing stage on this Ember. As we know with Ember as well, if you fall behind, it is very hard to catch back up. Just depending on how far behind you've fallen.
Even a master falters.
We'll see what he gets done though. He is a master tier Ember Spirit, and of course we also have a master tier Weaver and a master tier OD apparently. Some hero spam to see, John.
Yeah, that it is. Dirty heroes to spam as well. Like the OD, to reach this master tier, you must have been playing him way before, right when he was also broken, you know, so
filthy stuff.
A lot of dirty spam here. Very filthy stuff, Mike. Still, we'll have to see how it unfolds. Lil Nick, as you mentioned, has to get off to that running start. And we've also got to see this lane for Tingle King start to pop off, right? Like he needs to apply that pressure on the PL early on. We'll see if he can maximize his laning against the PL. He already starts with a wild axis over the boars. Looks like they just want to focus on shoving out the wave, maybe applying some harassment out, and trying to at least get that early farm rolling as quick as possible.
No, I think the Beastmaster should have a really good laning stage up against the PL. I don't doubt that. I'm just wondering whether they're going to be able to deal with him later on. And you can't forget, even if you do deal with the PL, you're still going to have to be worried about this Weaver. And of course, we are yet to see what Zor is going to be going in terms of item build, but he has already queued up treads, so that does kind of indicate that he does want to go a bit more of a right-clicky build. We'll see, though. I guess you don't really go any other boots on Weaver anyway. May as well just go the treads.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, you've got this disgusting lane with 2 bugs, Mike. This looks like something from an Australian lane. You know, it's just Weaver plus Nyx. It looks like it's like your Raptor, Mike. Just a lot of bugs in here.
Disgusting stuff, John. Very, very dangerous situation here for the cut, but we'll see how they deal with it. Of course, you do have Scourge, McDuck, and Pingu there down at the bot lane against Thana and Zor. We see a nice little cogs push back there from Pingu. Doesn't bother with the battery assault because you're not going to be able to get anything done with it this game, or at least in the laning phase. So you may as well just have the cogs to try and make sure Scourge McDuck can farm up a bit. Just constantly pushing away the insects, but as you can see, as soon as the Clockwork walks away, Scourge is going to have a lot more of a tough time trying to deal with the harassment that can come out of Zor, and even the Nyx Assassin being played by Thana. Looks like Thana's already going to go for a large camp pull, and we don't actually have anyone here to cancel this. Of course, the small camp was pulled in by Pingu, but you don't really want to go for that trade, as that wave is still going to push back into the laning, where Zor, he should be able to control this large camp pull and deny at least most of the creeps.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. You can see Scourge, he's just dropping low. He opts for Blade Dance level 2, so he's not going to have a way of healing up, which is fair. Like, when you don't really want to get Healing Ward up against a Weaver early on, it's just free gold. That does mean a lot more regens going to have to spammed out onto Scourge, and you can see Pingu's ready, still has 4 tangos in the pocket, along with a salve, so should be able to keep his Jug healthy, and overall the lane's at least holding. Over mid, though, you are seeing Lil Nick really bullied out here by Tay. Ooh, just dropping so low, and he has to pop that salve. You're seeing the OD really start to pull ahead here. And it's just that matchup. You're ranged on the OD, you've got a ridiculous spell with Astral, you can harass well with Arcane Orb, and Lil Nick's just got to watch his spacing and ensure that he doesn't overcommit for these last hits.
That was a bird.
Absolutely. This is a very tough lane for the Ember. And it only gets harder as levels go up for Tay. And well, range creeps, you can kind of just forget about them if you're Lil Nick, but top lane is where the first spot happens. Tingle King going down to Comfort. And that's something I didn't think I'd see here. I mean, the lane's not too weak with the Jakiro PL, but I didn't really see the Beastmaster dying like that, especially with the backup of Vol and the Keeper of the Light. But long behold, it does happen. Comfort gonna be very happy about that. And now in the mid lane, Tay, he's gonna kill for himself. Lil Nick also ends up going down to the OD. And this is what we mentioned in the drafting stage, John. It's a very hard laning stage for the side of the cut.
That it is. Like, these hero picks just don't make things any simpler. When you drop your Beastmaster up against a PL, you're giving Comfort a really good start. And we were just talking about how much the Beastmaster has to apply that early pressure. He's starting to now with level 2 Wild Axis, but there's still a lot of regen on hand for Comfort. It's down to the fact that when you play this pause for Coddle, you just kind of have to sit back and try to pull the wave as much as possible, but they punish Tingle King again while he's isolated, and it's just so hard to maximize your lane if your support's just busy doing something else on the opposite side of that lane. So really good abuse here from Felt, and they're going to keep that pressure up.
Well, at least he does get the large creep with that Illuminate there from Volt. So you do see the axes being maxed out by Tingle King, just wanting that wave clear up against Comfort, but it does mean he can't really harass out this PL, and they're going to go again, but Vol actually ends up getting a kill into Justice. And now Comfort, he needs to back out. He's got 4 stacks of those Wild Axes on him. And so the damage output is pretty high. It looks like he is going to be able to let them wear off. Eventually these Axes will start really annoying Comfort, but for now he looks perfectly fine with a nice little dodge there on the Illuminate. Looking at bot lane though, Thana is going to die on the Nyx Assassin. Scourge McDuck able to get the kill, but Zor, he may have been able to dive to go ahead and kill Pingu, but he doesn't want to risk it and he'll stay back and keep farming up. And in some weird way, this is even better now because Pingu's forced to just salve up and waste more regen. Zor, he's just going to walk away from this, go get the bounty runes for himself.
A golden thread.
Oh yeah, and these lanes for Felt are just going so well. They're applying that pressure we were talking about early on. Just looking down mid, Tay was trying to dive. Lil Nick, he's got level 6 ahead of this Ember. Lil Nick's still half a level away from that level 6 spike, and that's just a lot of space for the OD to play. He's got Santis up. If you drop too low, you can drop the hammer, maybe look for a side lane rotation once he hits level 7, or about 7 minutes in as well. So there's a lot of timings here Felt's meeting early on in game, and that doesn't spell too well for the cut. They need to keep trying to apply pressure, keep playing with the Chakra match plus Axis, especially up top.
Yeah, Justice, he's in trouble. Illuminate gonna fly through, Tingle just diving him. And Axes are out. One more hit will do it, but the TP rotations are coming in. Tay, just in the nick of time, is going to Astral up Tingle, and he's gone. A very aggressive play. The Illuminate will still be able to kill Justice, but I don't think Tingle's going to be happy about that.
No, it's not a word for all trade. You're dropping this offlane Beastmaster. He's already slightly behind in levels. You've already got pretty much level 6 secured here for Comfort. So a lot coming out for the PL early on. And this kind of space out for Felt is just giving a lot more to work with. Like, when you see the OD rotate mid, Tana was soaking down mid instead. Wants the levels up in the Nyx. That's one thing that's sort of slowing down here for Felt. But they have been really disciplined with getting that distribution out. And the cut needs to punish these rotations out. Find those weaknesses, like you see at solo down bot.
Oh, Spike Carapace not actually going to stun him up, and Illuminate is going to fly through. Bit unfortunate there for Thana. I believe he was hoping Lil Nick would go for the Flame Guard, but Lil Nick decides not to and does just slide a fist instead. With that, of course, he's going to be just fine. Down at the bot lane, looks like there was an attempt onto Zor, but he is going to just Sakuchi away, and it's going to be very hard to catch this pesky Weaver. Looks like Zor is indeed going to be going for the Maelstrom build-up as well, so even more wave clear up against the Beastmaster. Of course, the Maelstrom going to pay very highly towards Zor, considering all the heroes on the side of the cut are pretty high in armor. That magic damage is going to be paying off quite nicely.
That it will. This is one issue with the Cut's lineup. Like, they see Zor solo, there isn't much Clockwork can do to lock in a Weaver. Like, they've got this nice laning ward with the Sentry, but overall, you're going to have a hard time locking in and trying to punish Zor for being solo.
Well, Pingu's rotated now into mid lane, where they will spot out Tay, but Tay is positioning very nicely. Lil Nick, he doesn't have the chains up yet, but a nice Illuminate there from Vol is going to do some damage as Tay is trying to back off. Now Pingu in with the battery assault and the cogs. Can Tay survive? He kills one, trying to kill the next. Pingu is going to go down, but at the cost of the life of Tay, but a nice impale out from Thana. Lil Nick is trying to escape. Can he do it? The bug is still on him. They have vision, and Zor has Sakuchi, and that means Lil Nick is going to die. So a nice attempt onto Tay's life, and they do eventually get the kill, but is it really worth losing 3 heroes?
Not worth losing 3 heroes, but that still was an important kill for Lil Nick to find. They need the Ember to go off on a running start. At the least he finds something. Not the ideal situation. Really early rotation out from Comfort here, down mid. Not quite the lane you'd want to start applying your resources towards. I think Comfort would love to switch down bot instead, apply a little bit of a push. As you do see top lane being shoved in here by Felt.
Justice gonna TP straight out. Was trying to stick around to defend that top tier 1 tower, but thinks better of it. It's like mid lane, there might be another attempt onto Lil Nick. I like the fact that Felt has concentrated so much of their time and attention towards this Ember. As we see over and over again, Lil Nick is kind of like the backbone of this team. And if he has a good game, generally the rest of the team will have a good game along with him. Now, we don't get to see Lil Nick struggle very often on the in the mid lane, so it'll be very interesting to see how he does try and come back from this. Tay is just going to continue annoying the living crap out of him. Don't you just love OD, John? A great hero.
It really is. The one thing that's coming out for the cut here is they do take the top tier 1 with no contestation. It is a Beastmaster Coddle lane, so they do shove in quite well. We're not seeing Felt commit to any tier 1s just yet. They're just happy enough to farm in the space they do have control under. Really love these forward wards coming out from the cut. Hopefully they make use of it. They've got to start blocking some of these farming patterns that are coming out for Comfort from the space they've given him.
Lil Nick trying to get the power rune, but it does end up at the bot rune spot, and that was an illusion rune. Looks like Tay is going to go ahead and take it for himself on the OD. Illusion. So right now, the cut, they have a very nice timing on this Beastmaster, and Tingle King really wants to get some more objectives down. I expect them to rotate mid very, very soon with that Primal Roar. Try to set up a kill and rotate into that tier 1 mid tower. But for now, Tingle seems pretty set on just continuing the pressure up the top lane. Even bringing Scourge McDuck up here now. So they really want to get some more pressure out and force them back. I don't think they're going to be able to get that much damage off into that tier 2 tower though. Tier 1 bot is going to go down fairly quick now that Tay has the Meteor Hammer. And after that, they could go for the defense pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, they can just easily drag the heroes up top to deep push. Really early movement out from Scourge McDuck to head top, although. Yeah,
Thane is in trouble. Does get the Vendetta strike off, but he's in pretty big trouble. But a nice impale is there. It's just not going to matter. Nice setup there from Pingu, and Tingle will take the kill. But now the rotations do start coming in, and Justice, of course, will just drop the macro. Get rid of the creep wave. No need to put yourself at risk. And, well, there's not much the cut can do about it. They'll just go back to the Dire Jungle and keep farming that up instead.
Yeah, this is not as efficient a farm as it is compared to Felt. Look at how much more space the Quers and the Felt are doing. Zor was clearing out the lane. Tay was just playing in that jungle spot, getting some more farm up. They are still committing for that top tier 2, but they should be able to come in for that defense now.
I think they kind of need to. I think they realize they can't go into the later stages of the game with this kind of draft. Up against the draft of Feld, and now Tay, he's going to Meteor Hammer onto Tingle, and Tingle is just going to die. And now a nice Ice Path. Locking down 2, but Tay is still in danger. Omni committed. Astral there in a second, but it's not going to be there in time. Meanwhile, Thana, he's in trouble now on the Nyx, and he's also going to die. Comfort's still going to move in after Scourge McDuck, but this doesn't look great for the Feld. They might just need a back, but Zor is going to kill off Volt, so a 2 for 2 in the end. Still definitely looking a bit better for the cut, as they did get the OD, but Zor wants to keep going. Looks like it might just be enough for him to back off now, but no, he's going to keep chasing Lil Nick. Doesn't have that Maelstrom up, so doesn't do much damage. And Lil Nick going to get a nice chains off. Raw, not going to be there. He couldn't reach it in time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Like that Weaver's just so slippery, and Zor actually buys out a lot of space like that. Top tier 2 doesn't take too much damage. Now the mid tier 1 defense can shape up as the respawns are up.
This mid tier 1 tower just seems so important to take. Because if you don't take this, you can't take over the map. And Felt, of course, are going to defend with everything they've got. The Scourge will commit the spin now, but that means they have to back out. But Zor wants to go back in. Raw is going to be expended. Do they want to back or do they want to fight? It looks like they want to try and back. Thana being caught out, does go down, and now they'll try and turn here. Took the cut. They're going to keep going now that Nyx is down, but Tay is going to drop the Meteor Hammer. Hookshot somehow misses from Pingu. Tay's still in danger, however. He does have the Astral. Will commit it onto Pingu. Now Zor going to chase down Lil Nick once again while Pingu just going to walk away. Nice chains out. That could mean the death of Tay. He's still alive somehow, though. He's going to survive. But that mid-tier 1 tower is not. Lil Nick does buy enough time for his team to get that tower down. And they should be pretty happy with that on the side of the cut.
Yeah, it's a huge pickup for them. Starts to open up that map a little bit more. Allows them to really roam around that top jungle, which they have been doing quite well. Now there's less access points for Felt to defend any sort of movement up there. Felt, they've been trying to match this aggression. It's time for them to just give some space out into comfort. He's still saving up for his defusal. I think once you have that defusal up, maybe finish up the SNY, your PL should be in a better spot to take these fights. As it is right now, 8-8, slight lead for Felt, but not by much, as you are seeing that aggression from the cut start to pay off a bit. They're still going to be eyeing these early objectives, but I have to say, the spam that they have with Chakra plus a Beastmaster and an Ember is ridiculous. You can see just how much damage they do, and these fights take a long time.
So, nice cogs there from Pingu. He will time-lapse straight back into the roar of Tingle. That's a very nice coordinated kind of play there from the cut. That's a very big pickup to get, just slowing down the Maelstrom once again of Zor. Scourge McDuck will continue to push up at that top tier 2 tower. With this Necro 3 up on Tingle, it's not too hard to take this tower down now. They've got another creep wave there. And they're going to commit. I don't think they're backing off here.
No, they just have to go for these objectives. Now it's the moment they're strong. They've got a lot riding on Tingle King with the Necro trees. They can melt these towers quick. And Zor?
That's not a great TP there from Zor. He's going to have to back off. Very lucky for him that there was no stuns available at the time. Pingu did have hook shot, but he wasn't around the area. Meanwhile, mid lane, the Felt, they're still trying to get this push in through the mid-tier 1 tower, but Lil Nick's been very annoying, along with their Keeper of the Light, Vol. They've just been keeping the lane pushed out over and over again.
Yep. And, well, we've got the go-ahead from Felt. This is as much pause time as they're willing to give, which is fair enough. They've dug quite deep into their reserve. So, we'll see how the cut holds out. Still some items flying in, some timings they have to hit. I wonder if they're going to be micro, and it does look like they'll try to micro Tingle King as best as they can.
Oh, this
just
is
make use
hard.
of those Hawks and Boars. This is
very
difficult.
Of all heroes, you're going to micro a Beastmaster. It's not fun, and I believe Vol's the one who has to do it. It is going to be pretty tough. I mean, this is a professional game. Props to him if he makes it work. Let's see how they go. They're moving up towards Zor up in that top lane. Hookshot is going to be nice from Pingu into the Roar. It does connect on the Weaver. Do they have time though? No, the time lapse is going to be there. Zor is going to get dusted up, but the chase is going to continue, and he might just be dead. He does indeed go down. A nice pick up there from the cut.
Vol. What a guy. Like, he's trying to play his Coddle along with that along with that Beastmaster. They still find a kill. They're still working that micro. They're trying to shove in these waves. You are seeing Felt try to use the space. They're clearing out the bot lane themselves. Tana's got some space out. They're building up in comfort. As we mentioned, Heart still being lined up. Want to play with that Diffusal, but here's the start of the shove. Coddle plus Beastmaster just stick together to shove a lane in, and in this way, at the least, it's a bit more manageable to hold this Beastmaster. You just need to pump out the Boars, pump out the Necronomicons, and shove the waves in to keep that pressure up despite being a player down.
Absolutely. It's a very tough situation. You can't forget either, John. The Felt, they're more than happy for this game to drag out. They've got ODP Weaver. You're not going to be able to contest them later on into the game. So the longer they can hold that high ground, the better for them. And, well, for the cut, they had a great timing going with this draft. It's just a matter of whether they can keep this timing up. But I think it's going to be very, very hard to do so with having to control another unit. But we'll see if they can keep it up. I mean, they did manage to kill Zor. So if they can do that a couple more times, maybe they're feeling happy. Maybe they can force a high ground push. We'll see as Scourge is moving into the mid lane to start attacking that tier 2 tower. And yeah, they're going to try and force towers just as soon as humanly possible. Because they know they can't really afford to wait this game out.
Oh yeah, they just need those objectives. They're trying their best, and Vol is definitely just has a lot of work to put into him. The defense is starting to shape up though, and this is where it gets scary. If a big fight is forced out while you're a man down, it might not end up well for the cut. So they're choosing their fights well. They're not being as aggressive as we've seen them in the past few minutes. And this is giving Felt, again, a lot more to play with, although they are TPing down to punish Tana a bit.
It's just very tough though. Vol's by himself, he'll just illuminate the creep wave and make sure it doesn't push into the tower. Thane is going to just pull the creep wave away on the Nyx Assassin. And again, for Felt, it's just about buying time. If they buy time, they can almost guarantee a victory in the end. Of course, that's assuming Tingle doesn't end up coming back, which hopefully he does. But even if he does come back, the draft just doesn't scale as well. And you always have the argument of the Ember Spirit does scale pretty well into the late game, but it's up against the Weaver PL OD. I just can't see it.
Yeah, it's difficult. Like there are all those issues for the Ember and especially the Jug, right? Like Astral just ruins your spells. It just absolutely ruins your Omni Slash if you don't time it right. So there's a lot that Scourge has to play with as well when he goes into these fights. And of course, all that pressure on Lil Nick to keep shoving out waves, keep finding these openings in these fights. He's saving up for his BKB on that Ember. Should allow a lot more leeway in starting these fights on his Ember. But until then, it's a bit tricky to be out in front like this. Although Zor is playing poke really far forward, but he is a slippery little bug.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of trying to keep tabs on what's going on in the Roshan pit. Gets the bounty runes as well, or at least gets one, but we'll have to be a little bit cautious here around Lil Nick. And now the Roshan has been started by the cut. They should know about this. They don't have any vision. Looks like Vol will end up going down the bot lane, but the Roshan is still happening and they don't realize it.
That's going to be big.
I thought Zor would have known.
Just a bit late on that swarm, so a nice pickup there. Does give them a lot more leeway now with Scourge McDup in the front. They should look to take a fight before the PL's big. We do see Comfort go for that SNY first. We'll see if they can make something happen. But they are still kind of stuck in a weird spot. You can see Felt trying to stay his vibe to abuse this situation right now.
Is out from Tingle. Boar's attacking as well. Nice hook shot in from Pingu. The wheel, maybe? No, the Weaver is going to survive. The Astral was there, and he's going to run away. A 1-for-1 so far. The Nyx is dead, but there goes Pingu as well, and now Zor going back in after Scourge. Does time-lapse away, but now the PL's in trouble. Comfort is going to be able to doppel. The Ice Path out, Tay controlling up more, and it looks like Scourge is going to die. Lil Nick trying to run away, but he should probably also go down. He's trying to Remnant, and he will be fine as Scourge is going to turn back around now. He kills off Zor, onto Justice. Can they get the Jakiro? They can, and now Tay is also in trouble, and they are going to get another. That looked really bad for the cut for over half that team fight, but eventually they make it work.
That was some really good weaving in and out for Lil Nick. They would have loved to get the Comfort pick instead, They did have to sacrifice their Aegis as well, but they did win out that fight barely, as it does go out at 14-11 with a less than 1k lead for Felt, so not big by any margin at all. They're still sort of putting their other chorus on the back here on Felt. And you've got this Ags up now on Vault, so he's got that access to Will-O-Wisp, which would make these team fights a lot harder. They do still need to find these objectives, and without the Aegis, it's going to be hard to pierce the high ground, but it looks like they will at least find this tier 2 mid.
Absolutely. Double damage rune there for Lil Nick. Really going to help him out in that next team fight, and they might go for a bit of a smoke before that rune does pop. Felt just kind of turtling in the base for now. Saw the PL pushing out bot, and Zor with the Maelstrom now he can push out top. And well, Comfort is fairly close to that Heart of Tarask. Once that's up, you wonder how they're going to kill him, and oh, Tingle has been caught. He's going to die. Because I keep saying Tingle King, but he's not here. It's Vol, but you can't really expect him to be able to be so aware of both heroes' positions.
No, it's really difficult. Still, they've bought enough time for the BKB to be up on Lil Nick. They do smoke up with his heightened timing, and they want to make something happen here. Comfort?
Down towards the bot lane, a nice recall. That'd be a massive kill. Comfort, he gets caught out with the Will-O-Wisp, but can they lock him down? No chances of yet, but now it does come out. Comfort's in big trouble, and he is going to die. Meanwhile, Pingu does die to Tay, but it's just a great trade out for the cut. That was, he was just about 500 gold off finishing that heart, but he's going to have to wait it out a bit now. Definitely very bad news for the Felt.
Yeah, it's a massive pickup for the side of the cut. Really well timed for Lil Nick to just have that bottled up double damage running as well. They managed to find a very important pickoff. They need to transition this into an objective. Maybe start to look at bot, but you really do want the high ground to start to get pierced now. They will have to just go for the easier targets for now, as they don't have Aegis. It will still be about 4 minutes until we see that next Roche timer. So it's going to be a while, and they're going to have to settle for the side lanes for now. That does give some time for Felt to maybe look to make a rotation if they want to. They've got the Hurricane Pike up on Tay. The Heart is still being saved up, of course, on Comfort. And Zor is still working onto that Gleipnir as well. So a little bit more time needed for that farm, which is time where the cut can just get the shove going.
Absolutely. Lil Nick getting nice and lucky again with that Arcane rune now. Even going for the Radiance build up on the Ember. Which I can actually agree with quite a lot here from Lil Nick. It's going to be very, very hard for that PL once that Radiance is up. Bot lane, Thena going to walk away from the Will-O-Wisp. Scourge still chasing. Now Remnant forward, but a nice ice path is there to block them off. Comfort jumped in. Macro's been dropped. They want the Beastmaster first, and they should be able to kill him. Comfort now wants to go for a bit more, but where's the target you go for? It looks like they might just opt to try and go after Vol on the Keeper, but they don't know he's there, and he's going to keep running. Now turning back around for a Blinding Light. Here comes Lil Nick with the chains. They catch out the real PL, but Thana is going to be targeted now from Scourge with Duck. They kill off another. Comfort is still trying to fight, but no, he wants to back out of there, but there's the Omni Slash coming through. They rip apart Justice. Comfort's very, very low. Still trying to run, but it looks like he might just die, but no, the Sanities is there. Out from Tay. They almost found Scourge. He is still on the run, but Zor is going to be able to kill him off, and now they turn it back around. Lil Nick, the only one left, but he is indeed going to die. What a team fight coming out from Team Felt. It looked so bad for the first half, but some great kiting out from them, and eventually Tay dropping the hammer really paid off.
And it's also the hard time here for Comfort. He bought it in the side shop before, while they were chasing him down, and that made all the difference. He had enough durability to withstand the initial salvo out from the cut, and Felt now are widening that lead. 5k up. They've got the Gleipnir up now as well on Zor, so they've got even more control, even more damage flying out from the Weaver, and this is where things get a bit dicey for the cut. They need additional control to lock in the PL right now, as it's very hard if they can't get that roar off on Tingle King. And they just need to compensate with something else. Perhaps we see that that Ags finished up first on Scourge, but maybe we start to hope for the Basher Abyssal to give them control. Felt, though, make good use of this of that win take the mid tier 1. They took a bot tier 2 as well. They're going to be eyeing more objectives. They're going to start to reel in some control on the Rosh, and that's where it gets dicey for the cut here.
That it does. 3.3k HP on Comfort, and he's going for an Eye of Skadi up next. It's going to make it so that Healing Ward doesn't really do much for the Jug, and of course, in terms of his own sustain, the Eye of Skadi stats are pretty darn nice for the PL. This is that stage of the game where Felt can start to feel a little bit more comfortable with their draft. I think the next big objective for both teams is probably just going to be that Roshan. We are yet to find out when it is going to be back up again. We'll find out very, very soon in just about 50 seconds. But the cut are almost definitely going to need to try and get that next Roshan. So if you give it to Felt, with a 7k net worth lead, they could start knocking on your high ground. There's not really much you can do in the way of stopping them if they have that Aegis up.
Oh yeah, it's a scary spot now for the cut. It feels like, you know, they're standing on just one key fight where if they drop that fight, Felt just have an insane lead afterwards. They've also got some nice tier 4s here on Felt. They've got the Cloak of Flames up, which helps them apply some forward presence and good damage out as well. Titan Sliver up on Zor. A lot of damage is flying in from having them around, and it's starting to stack up in Felt's favor. It feels like we're reaching the timer where the PL is a bit too big to handle, and the cut just, they need one of these fights to line up. Like, they can punish if Felt come in one by one, but I think they have to be careful about overcommitting on the PL. They have to start looking at maybe taking out that OD first in a sustained fight, maybe locking in the Weaver first, because the PL is just way too hard to lock down with that heart plus the additional, even just this ultimate orb. It's so much stats on hand.
It is. It's like Scourge trying to get the Aghanim Scepter up and should have it up relatively soon. Is it going to prove to be enough with the Chakra Magic on top? Do they even give him the Chakra Magic, or do they just prioritize giving it to Lil Nick instead for the double Sleight of Fist? I think you prefer to give it to Lil Nick, but the Swift Slash is pretty nice. So it can be a little bit hard to tell what the idea is going to be from Vol here. And as you can see, John Felt currently are just occupying that Roshan pit, just waiting for it. It is going to be roughly another minute before it is up. So they are just going to occupy this Radiant Triangle, except they are going to try and push in that tier 2 top tower as well. Very easy stuff here for Felt right now. Of course, for the cut, you just aren't going to bother trying to stop this. At the least, you want to finish off the Ags first on Scourge.
Oh yeah. No point rushing out to these fights while you're a man down, plus you need these item times to line up. You're just going to play it safe, keep the shove going. One positive thing about having the Cottle in this situation is that you can just kind of do this. Tingle King's just left in the base. Vol will just call him in before a big fight. Get the roar, get the spells out, and you just kind of forget about him. So this is one safe way to play it for the cut. This is probably the best way for them to kind of execute that right now, but they are still sort of giving away that Rosh information. Like, it's going to spawn up now. Felt's going to know because they've got the courier in. You don't have a Hawk in position. You don't have any way of knowing the Rosh is going to be happening. So could be a big win for Felt if they do just get this one for free.
Well, they get the Rocket Flare off anyway. So that now they definitely know, but they're way out of position to try and contest this. They're going to try. They've smoked up as 3, but no, the Roshan's gone way too quick. Maybe the hookshot could reach, but it's already being blocked off by Tay on the OD. There's just no point. They are still moving in though. They want to fight anyway. They're going onto the OD now with the silence out. It looks like it might be enough. Tay is going to die. Nice little gank there from the cut. And that's a bit of a consolation prize for their trouble. They're not really going to be able to find much else though. I just don't see them wanting to fight into the Aegis PL.
It's difficult to pierce the high ground right now. Like, you've got a minute without the OD, but the lanes aren't quite close enough to the tower for you to maximize that.
Comfort. Gonna walk back at the right time. Lil Nick gonna spot him out. Does get the chains. But Comfort's got 4k HP. And Lil Nick has no mana. He has 0 mana right now. Comfort will leave him be. He will barely survive on 20 HP. Comfort gonna keep going after Scourge, just draining all the mana. Athena now with the Vendetta, moving in from the backside. They'll find Pingu. Nice easy kill into the clock. Athena goes after Scourge, but a nice spin is there. Now the Will-O-Wisp has been dropped, but the Spike Carapace onto Vol. Scourge still killing off Athena. Bazaar is on the chase for Vol. Lil Nick coming in to help out, but the Gleipnir gonna hold him down. Zor gonna time-lapse away before that Swift Slash kills him off. They still have the Omni. That's gonna be enough. Looks like Felt are just gonna play it safe and back out.
Yeah, you don't want to take too many more losses there. They still need their UD to come in if they want to force that out further. And their top lane was kind of shoving in. So they have to go back, get the D push going. A really good micro coming out from Vault to get Tingle King just shoving that lane out regardless. And a pretty good set of fights coming out for the cut. They are happy with the result of that. They're still down 7k gold. There's now a Bloodstone up on Tay, so he's got even more sustain on the OD. And he still holds on to that cheese. So he's got some options now if he does get jumped first. And you're still seeing some issues with the cut. Like, they still don't have enough damage to deal with the PL. Lil Nick can't even just go up to right-click just because of the Diffusal melting down his mana. So they've got to find some solution to that. The Radiance is going to help. About 150 gold left for Lil Nick, so that should line up pretty well for the next fight.
That it should. They've got Tingle up there now at the top lane as well. He's been split pushing as the Beastmaster. Just slowly but surely. It does force Sword to come back and defend. Meanwhile, mid lane, a bit of an initiation here. Will-O-Wisp catching out too. They are going to be able to run away, but Vol with the blinding light, knocking them back once again. But they've really got to pick their fights carefully on the side of the cut. Looks like they will decide to back out. They'll have to leave that mid-tier 2 tower to die. I think your only choice is to just try and defend high ground. There's not really much else you can do.
No. And this is difficult. Like, they have pretty good team fight, but again, you need a roar to start these fights up, and it's just so difficult to get that and the Kotl at a good spot at the same time. It's just very difficult to execute now for the cut.
Well, it definitely is. Comfort, I mean, he's got 105 HP regen right now with this heart. So he's just healing up everything you throw at him. Scourge gonna try and deal with him a little bit, but there's nothing he can do. They've got to rely on that Illuminate and the Sleight of Fist. But Comfort knows how powerful he is. There's a Swift Slash out, but it does nothing. Onto the mid barracks. Pingu gonna be slowed up, and he is almost certainly just dead. Comfort easily going to take his life away onto Vol, who will go Scepter up. Gem on the deck. Scourge going to leave it for now, going after Comfort, but the Ice Path is going to be there just as he catches out the Jug. No mana left. They will get Scourge, but he'll buy back. This could be the last team fight. It's Lil Nick now trying to back off, but they've got Vol instead. There's your Swift Slash out from McDuck. Comfort is getting fairly low, still trying to go after Vol. Has he overextended? He's got the Aegis still. Omni Slash was committed by Scourge, but he hasn't killed anyone off, and now the Sanities being dropped by Tay is enough, and Lil Nick, he's gone. That might be GG. I think they'll think about calling it here, and there you go. A very unfortunate set of circumstances for the cut in this game one, as they had to play it 4v5, and I'm sure the Felt, although they won game one, they aren't going to be happy about the way they had to win, which it's not their fault either, John. You just have to take what you can get, and obviously for the Felt, every win is important. But I'm sure they're not as happy as they probably would have been if it was 5v5.
Yeah, I mean, props to Felt. They managed to take that win. There were a couple of moments where the cut was still looking good after that disconnect, but it fell apart. Like, honestly, the fact that the cut were doing so well early on, for me, was the surprising part, right? Like, they took that top tier 2 at a really good time. They managed to get Tingle King really working that shove in quite well. They were already ready to commit with Scourge McDuck on the top lane, and they really needed their entire roster for that. So it was a really hard game for the cut. Props to Felt for playing good early on, for matching the aggression. That was some really good Dota in the first 20 minutes. Like, spectacular rotations from everyone. Comfort heading down mid early to find those early kills. They were trading left, right, and center, and you can see both teams really do want that win, but what can you do about a snowstorm in Texas right now, you know?
Not much. You can even see on the graph, John, even though Tingle had disconnected, at some points in the game, they had the win probability going their way. And even at the start of the game, the win probability was quite high their way, so a bit unfortunate. But with that, John, I'm not sure how long this next break is going to be, because we might have to just try and wait a little bit for Tingle to come back. We'll try and suss out the situation and try to give you guys as much information as possible once we know. But for now, it is MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll be back after hopefully a short break for game number 2.